Hello, bonjour, Alberta. Did you know that at least 238,000 people speak Français in Alberta? And those numbers just keep on growing? Oui, oui, c'est vrai, it's true. And thanks to Shaw TV Community Access Programming, we get to reach out to everyone to let you know all about special people, places, events, and activities happening right here in this great province, in both English and en français. That's right, mes amis. We begin the first part of our program in English, and then we repeat it en français. So stay with us. Restez à l'écoute.
Hello, bonjour Alberta. Welcome to our show once again, everyone. I'm Anne Boiteau, your host. We are in our season 10, very close to Les Rendez-vous de la Francophonie 2016. And tonight we are chatting with Larry Wasyliw.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, who is the president of the ranch at Fish Creek Restoration Society, and Suzanne de Courville Nicol, who is the ambassador of, or was the ambassador of the Winterfête 2016. So we're talking about a Winterfête which happened end of January, beginning of February, before the Carnaval de Québec. That's why you see all these Carnaval items with us tonight. And so Larry, tell us how this Winterfête came about, the first one ever.
It is
here
the first
in Calgary.
One. Some history on that. We honored culture, and one of the ideas was to, because our history goes back to the French culture, and we wanted to do something unique in the winter time. And so a little bit of history, we wanted to relate this sister city, with Calgary being the sister city of Quebec City, and it was celebrating our 60th wedding of this year. And believe it or not, the city of Calgary never celebrated this birthday in the city, because all the delegations would go from the city of Calgary to Quebec City in the wintertime, and in the summertime they'd bring a delegation to celebrate the Calgary Stampede. So we said, this has got to change.
Yes.
So we decided to look into this, and we found out that January 29th was the day that the Quebec Winter Festival was opening, and we chose that day specific to honor the culture. And we cannot recreate the largest winter festival in the world, no. Quebec City. We had to do something. So we started with little outdoor festivities. We started the first ever snowshoe races, and that led into a involvement by Don Bosco School, and then we created this very unique ice sculpture outside, and it represents prior to the races that we have at the Calgary Stampede right now, the chuck wagons, they used to have coach races. So we represented an ice sculpture in a coach with 6 horses. So that was the first thing that was outside. And creating the inside, we had to have a festival kind of event, so we brought in music from Quebec, and it was very French oriented. We had a fashion show. Le Chateau was participating. Because of our history and the importance of this location, we, with Le Chateau, we brought in former queen and 3 princesses. We showcased that fashion that they brought out. The food was absolutely fantastic. Amazing yes. food. Everybody enjoyed themselves. So it was a very festival kind of event. Suzanne got to play her spoons.
So that everybody knows, we're talking about the event that was at the Bow Valley Ranch in
Correct.
Fish Creek Provincial
Correct.
Park.
Yes.
Beautiful picture also of the ranch there. Mm-hmm. And everything for the youth was outside, right, at the beginning, the snowshoe contest and everything.
Correct. Yeah.
And French-Canadian cuisine also
Correct.
that the chef prepared.
Yes.
Most delicious
yes.
stuff. And how did you get to involve Suzanne as your ambassador?
Suzanne,
Yeah.
That's another story. We needed, because of this idea came very quickly, we needed to expedite and leverage as much as we could, because we thought of this idea kind of spontaneously, and to expedite where we're going and get to exposure. Suzanne is the French connection.
Yep.
So
true.
What better way of involving, but getting Suzanne involved? And she was fantastic. Led us into a lot of situations that we were not aware of, and just let her run with creating this relationship and expanding on it.
Yeah. In the direct liaison with Le Carnaval de Québec and the organizers there. So that's fine for us to have this wonderful idea, but they better know what we're doing, as well as the Calgary Quebec Exchange Committee that, as Larry was saying, exists now, or has for many years, but they concentrate on the Stampede.
Yes.
And so, as already explained, so the idea really, I think, was yours and Rob Leonard's. I mean, what an amazing idea to launch the official 60th anniversary of the twinning of our two cities on the date that the Carnaval de Québec began, which was January 29th. And next year we've got even bigger hopes of having our youth ambassador in Quebec City and going live back and forth.
Oh,
so,
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, and she's amazing. Eden, who's a bilingual youth ambassador, she's just an amazing young lady, and she'd do a great job being there. So.
And even the city proclaimed this day.
Yes, they proclaimed the year.
Because, the whole year.
Yes, because there'll be many activities. Of course, ours was the first, so we kicked it off, which was wonderful, first ever and very exciting event. And then, of course, there will be other things happening. The Maple Festival des Sucres at Heritage Park is happening in March, and they are also saluting the Quebec-Calgary exchange, or twinning of the two cities. And then, of course, there'll be things at Stampede time when the Carnaval people come here. So, but we kicked it off, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Larry, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? And how long have you been in Calgary if you're from outside the province? And what brought you to the Bow Valley Ranch?
I'm originally I was born in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, so I'm a Saskatchewanite. And I've been in Calgary since the early 70s and lived in the area for a long time, since about 1979, and we used to walk our dogs down in Fish Creek Park, so we used the park frequently. And walking by this site, the ranch house, was become very derelict and windows broken and all this stuff, so we started writing letters because it was a big concern. And I love history and I like old stuff, and this looked like it was getting become derelict, fire hazard, all those things. So we started inquiring and nobody would give us answers. So we wrote a letter to our premier, Ralph Klein, and we've known Ralph from City of Calgary mayor days. And within like 1 week we got a response letter back from him. He says, I would like you to talk to our local MLA, Heather Forsyth. So that's what got the ball rolling. We met with Heather, we talked about this site, and basically said, what are you going to do about it? So I did a lot of research and found out the importance of this location and what it means to the City of Calgary and the roots that go so deep and what really created decisions for the City of Calgary. So we put together a program to honor all these pioneers, from our first pioneer, John Glenn, to William Roper Hull, who built a home in 1896, to Senator Patrick Burns, who was our most outstanding Alberta citizen. So all these factors are so important of honoring those pioneers, and how do we do that? So we packaged it in a format that we could do that, and we created a non-profit registered society across Canada, and we raised the money to restore the home. Nice. So it took us a few years, and between 1998 and 2000, it took us about 2 years to restore the home and open it as a fine dining restaurant, the Ranch Restaurant down Fish Creek Park, and it's been going gangbusters ever since.
And I have to jump in and talk about Senator Burns' wife, who's a Franco-Métis, and Adeline Bellecour. And so for these first snowshoe races, we gave out the first medals, the gold, silver, and bronze Adeline Bellecour medals that to the children. So
Yeah,
that was very special.
They loved it.
Yeah.
Yes. And your programs are quite different at the ranch. You're very much involved with the education in school and history. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
It is very involved because we are presenting history through a lot of things, including art. We developed an artisan gardens, which is quite unique. We have 72 Canadian artists, and the mandate for these artists were to represent history through art. So we have people like Robert Bateman. We have a lot of local Canadian artists. We have bronzes out there. It's a gallery of original art, and I got to emphasize all those pieces are original art pieces outdoors. So we created this as an event that people take part in. So all our educational programs are hosted right in the gardens outside. But the importance of our education is our youth. And so we put together programs that reflect the history from the early 1800s to where it is today. And we've got primary, secondary programs that we bring forth to grades 4, 5, and 7. And those are unique because we do them in French and English, and these never been done before. So we create unique things that are what we are at the ranch, and the importance of those to carry on. And they have been growing and growing and growing. So all this is part of so important of our heritage.
Very nice. And you were telling me earlier that coming up is a poetry.
Well,
very interesting.
We have these ideas that come, and I don't know why they come, but they do come. But as history in the ranch, and we created the native species gardens, and Mother Nature, you know, the trees grow, they're 100 years, and sometimes the trees fall down, the wind blows over, and we've had those things happen. And this last year, we had about 5 trees that fell over, and as I'm at the Bride Creek Christmas Festival, I'm dealing with one of our mosaic artists, and we're talking about literature and poetry, and Bubba said, poetry, and lo and behold, we have a huge, beautiful stump by the gazebo, and what we're doing is utilizing the stump, and on the top of it, we're going to create like a fiberglass, artificially looking tree, and in it, we're going to have a readergraph, and we're going to have stories, poems, and those kind of things, and they'll come from our educational students and those kind of things. And this idea came from the Mona Lisa from downtown, which always used to tell a story. Everybody'd see what the story of the month is from Mona Lisa. Well, we're going to do that similar kind of thing, but it's going to be more effective with stories that are poems or history about things that we do. So it's part of that we're going to expand the poetry.
Ah,
I love it.
yes, very nice. And so you involve a lot of children all the time in all of your activities at the ranch.
Very important. Now, it's multifunctional because we have had a lot of weddings, we do events, there's art things that we do, but the focus on the educational side is really youth and educating youth about local history. And we found out that in our educational programs right now that it's such a missing component. So we've merged our programs, and the schools love it. It's private, separate, public schools. So we actually work with the school to enhance their programs.
And your grandchildren must be very proud.
They are very proud. I have
Thank
2
you
grandkids.
so much for being with us tonight. And everyone out there, please stay with us. We will continue right away en français.